What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of The Tuesday Show, brought to you by Blue Light Media. My name's Mikhail, and today we wanted to talk about something that's really special to Nelson and I, and it is the sport of boxing. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard that one of the most anticipated fights of all time is happening this weekend between Triple G and Canelo Alvarez, and if you can't tell who we're going for, then there's something wrong there. But anyways, there's a lot that we can actually learn from how boxing promotes itself. For one, if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of micro-influencers under 250,000 followers, those types of accounts. I guess that might be a mid-tier influencer, something like that, that are sharing curated content for not just the boxing events, but for individual boxers by itself. And it helps spread the word of different athletes, different fighters, and different events going on. And there's dozens of these accounts that have tons and tons of content that's literally shared from, from HBO, from ESPN, Top Rank, and from the boxers themselves. So they are using a form of influencer marketing to gain traction for each one of the events and each one of the athletes. And we find that very, very interesting. The other thing that you can learn from it as well is that Golden Boy Productions, for example, is focusing on Golden Boy Productions. Let me give a little context to the boxing fans. Oscar De La Hoya he owns a company called Golden Boy Promotions, and they promote certain fights and certain fighters. Anyways, they've made a deal with Facebook Watch where they're actually launching fights on Facebook Watch. That's right. That's the only place you could watch it. In fact, was it last week or 2 weeks ago that Ryan Garcia fought on that? 2 weeks ago, Ryan Garcia fought, and the only place you could watch it was on Facebook Watch. And I think that's really interesting that they understand, they being, big boxing companies, understand that that is the future. And that's where people are going to be watching long-form content, is on platforms like Facebook. So we should definitely be paying attention to that. There's 3 million people that watched it? 2.3 million people that are watching it on Facebook, which is great, just because for boxing in general, you would think that it's not as popular that it used to be. Right. Yeah, no. So they are paying attention on digital media. The other thing that we can learn is boxing and boxing fight and boxers and the promoters are incredible storytellers. If you've been following the Triple G and the Canelo story at all, you know that there's a pattern of what's going on with the, Canelo testing positive for steroids, which he was probably taking them, but it's fine. And Gennady Golovkin coming from the streets, and now it's a street fight, and it's a grudge match when they used to be friends and all of this stuff, and it makes these fights so much more compelling. And the even HBO and even Showtime is distributing this story and content on YouTube, so they are utilizing these digital platforms to push traffic toward pay-per-view buys. So there's tons of things that we can be learning from boxing and all sports, but boxing is actually the only sport that I know anything about, so that's why we're talking about it today. But there's a lot of things that we can be learning about it. It's important to pay attention to that as well. And it's a lot of fun to watch. And actually, Jim Lampley said on the last fight game that there is, in fact, a resurgence of boxing, and people are actually paying more attention to it. And whether it was, Conor McGregor siphoning audiences from the UFC when he fought Mayweather, or maybe if it was, which is another form of influencer marketing, by the way, or if it was, all of the effort that they're putting toward digital marketing, you can definitely see that boxing is again on the rise. We're looking forward to an incredible fight this weekend. We're rooting for Triple G. I don't know who you're rooting for. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we can learn. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, no matter what you do, put your heart into it, and we'll see you next week on The Tuesday Show.